Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 444 of Linux in the Ham Shack. This is our short topics episode, and so we are glad you could join us tonight. And we hope you've had a great couple of weeks. We haven't been recording lately, but we're back right before we go on vacation. So, yeah, because that's how we roll. But anyway, before we jump into our short topic, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so to that topic of going on vacation, we should probably let you know that as of the next episode, which will be episode number 445, that will be our year-end wrap-up episode, which is what we're going to be doing sort of in place or in conjunction with a deep dive. I don't know if we'll have a topic or not, but usually on those year-end wrap-up shows, we have a roundtable discussion where we invite listeners to come on board and chat with us or just listen or give us insights or just talk about whatever they want to talk about. So if you're one of those folks who doesn't mind talking into a microphone, and since you're all or mostly all ham radio operators, you should. But if you have a microphone and a headset and the ability to connect to Mumble or Discord, I guess, how are we going to do that? I guess it has to be Mumble, right?
It could be either or. I think we've done it on Discord before, and it was okay. But we could do it either way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, we'll figure out and let you know before the next episode happens, which, is soon because it records on Thursday. So, yeah. So anyway, get your stuff ready. We'll make sure everyone's aware of how they're going to have to connect, whether it's Mumble or Discord or whatever, and then we'll all have a good time and go about our merry way for the end of the year, because December 16th will be our last recording until January 6th. So we take a little break or whatnot and, just enjoy the holidays and the end of the year and the new year and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute to that before we move on into our regular scheduled topics?
No, I look forward to it. It's always a good conversation. So it'd be great.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So please join us if you have the ability to and the inclination. We would love to have you for our roundtable discussion and talk about all the things that happened in 2021. Yeehaw. Such a great year that was. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on into our first set of topics, which is amateur radio based, and we'll let Bill go ahead and run through the first one.
Okay, well, let me zoom in my screen here because I didn't do that beforehand. But hey, yeah, it's the ARDC grant will expand RM Ham's 5 gigahertz microwave network in the Rockies. Wow, that's a big topic. A grant of $374,233.22. No, just kidding. From the Amateur Radio Digital Communications (ARDC) to the Rocky Mountain Ham Radio, RM Ham will go towards expanding multi-state 5 gigahertz microwave network to help outfit communication trailers. The microwave network enables partnering amateur radio clubs and groups to access and enable or expand their repeater and other FCC Part 97 appropriate applications. The network provides 50 to 100 megabits per second of bandwidth and is managed and monitored by a dedicated network operations team. In quotes, amateur radio organizations across Colorado and New Mexico leverage the infrastructure to enable their own repeater and IP capabilities that would otherwise be difficult or prohibitively expensive to achieve, RM Ham said. And that came to us from the ARRL. So more of that fancy ARDC money going to projects around the U.S.
I know we're going to have to figure out we're going to have to figure out something we can get them to spend money on before they throw it all away on these actually deserving projects.
Yeah, we need a couple of, pork projects. That's what we need.
Yeah, right. Got to have a little government waste. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we have another topic. Ham radio single sideband transceiver fits in pocket. I thought they already had these. But anyway, talking about this Chinese ham transceiver requires a veritable flurry of acronyms. Oh, our favorite. HF, SSB, QRP, and SDR to start with. Paul, who's Paul? Whoever wrote this?
Some YouTuber.
Some Paul guy. Does a nice job of unboxing the rig and checking it out. Oh, he did an unboxing video on YouTube. No one's ever done that before. The radio is a clone of a German project and provides all the Chinese are ripping off the Germans now. I guess it's just not limited to the U.S., right? So, well, actually, didn't they steal like BMWs and stuff like that? Aren't they making clones of like cars and everything else over there?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. The radio is a clone of a German project and provides a low power radio with a rechargeable battery. You can see his video about the gear below. Well, no, probably linked in the show notes, but
yes, of course.
Single sideband is an odd choice for a low power operation. Although those at Hackaday who wrote the story, wonder if you couldn't feed digital data in using a mode like PSK31 that has good performance at low power. There are several variations of the radio available, and they cost generally less than $200, sometimes quite a bit less. There isn't much on the front of the radio. There are a few buttons, a rotary encoder, and an LCD along with a speaker and microphone built in. There are ports for power to run the radio if you want to not use the battery, and a separate port for battery charging. There are also ports for a key, external microphone and speakers, and audio connections that look like they work for digital modes. According to commenters, the radio doesn't have an internal charging circuit, so you have to be careful what you plug into the charging port. Looking inside, the radio looks surprisingly well made. Okay. Towards the end of the video, you can see the radio make some contacts too. Looks like fun. This is a bit pricey for Dan Maloney's, whoever Dan Maloney is, $50 ham series, but not by much. You might borrow an antenna idea from him at least. If you prefer something more analog, grab 7 transistors and build this SSB transceiver, which will be linked in the show notes by way of the story that we're talking about.
Yeah. So I know you're wondering, why did I even put this in here?
Why did you put this in here?
It seems like an advertisement, right?
It does.
Well, that's what I felt too. And I was looking at Hackaday for stories, and then I saw this one, and I'm like, okay, I actually did see a video about this transceiver. And then I looked at, all the stories that got tagged for ham radio, and it looks like a lot of the stories are sort of all advertisements now for products. And I thought that was interesting, that I didn't know Hackaday was basically a bunch of hacks. Trying to pilfer or bring this story out here as almost like a native advertising or something like that. It's like, oh, look at this is so cool, I can build the radio. Oh wait, no, I buy this off of eBay for $200. I was like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So that's why I put it in here as the ham radio story. Also because there's not really a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, this is just a sad little Chinese radio, knockoff clone that, it's okay. It's kind of neat that it has, single sideband. I think you can actually talk right into it. It has a microphone pickup on it and stuff like that. But it's not like it's open source or some kind of project that's shared. I didn't get much details on the actual original project, the original German rig that this is based off of. But I'm assuming it's much like the M599 or something like that Discovery. That's also like a knockoff of somebody else's project in the UK. Seems that, if somebody has an idea and publishes it somewhere, it's going to be on Alibaba Express or whatever that's called. AliExpress.
AliExpress,
yeah, AliExpress before the end of the week. Someone's going to
Express is where you buy your magic carpets.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. That I just thought it was odd. I thought like Hackaday actually had like stories where people build things and share their crazy ideas of novel ways to do stuff with the technology. But I guess not anymore. I guess they throw in a few of these advertising things in the storylines now. So I guess that's what you can expect.
That's why. The word hack in Hackaday is actually like a double entendre.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, totally.
They were even more clever than we thought. So. All right. So anyway, moving on. Let's switch over to some topics in wow, I don't even know what word I was going for there. The open source world. It's going to be one of those nights, apparently. So anyway, the first one here is about our favorite new X Windows environment. Or X Windows server, rather, Wayland, and Bill's going to tell you all about the latest release.
Yeah, and this has been a pretty heavy release month, actually. Wayland was just one that kind of popped up to the top of the list because it's the very first one I saw. Wayland 1.2.0 or 1.20.0 is released. This release contains the following major changes. FreeBSD support has been entirely upstreamed and has been added to our continuous integration system. The AutoTools build system has been dropped. Meson has replaced it. A few protocol additions. The WL surface offset allows clients to update a surface's buffer. Offset independently from the buffer. WL output name and description allows clients to identify outputs without depending on XDG output unstable-V1. I'm sure, yeah, you wouldn't want to depend on anything that's listed as unstable for a production product. In protocol definitions, events have a new type attribute and can now be marked as destructors. That sounds cool. A number of bug fixes, including race conditions when destroying proxies in multi-threaded clients. And of course, we never have multi-threadedness anymore, do we? No, I don't think so. Anyway, yeah. And of course, that came from the free desktop mailing list. It's just one of those things that just popped right into my inbox, and it was up on top. Another kind of cool release for those of you that follow Kali Linux. They have a new release out too, so check that out as a side. And there was something else that released. I can't remember. So much stuff coming out. It's just, it's a good time for technology and open source.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me that one of the talks I attended at OLF this year, of the two of them that I went to, was about Alma Linux, which was kind of neat. They were talking all about how Alma Linux is like the next generation of CentOS. So, yeah, it was pretty groovy, man. And I'm sure that's going to be up on YouTube here before too long if it's not already. So moving on, we have another story. The European Commission will make its software solutions open source for public benefit. How nice. The European Commission has realized the benefits of open source and decided to make it. Didn't Germany do this like 10 years ago or something? To make it
hearing these stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Solutions open source. The EU Commission is known for its strong take on privacy and open source. A year ago, they asked their staff to use Signal for messaging instead of WhatsApp. Now they plan to make their software solutions publicly accessible for the benefit of society. In other words, anything that the EU uses for its internal work will be made open source. Considering that the taxpayers pay for the operations and fund the software, the code should also be available to the public. This campaign, with the idea of enhancing transparency, has existed for several years now. And the European Commission seems to be respecting the idea, which is a good sign that should encourage other official organizations funded by public money to step up with the same initiative, U.S. government. Now, not just limited to that, the EU also realizes that investing in open source gives higher returns based on their recent study. The Commissioner for Budget and Administration, Johannes Hahn, shared a statement. Johannes Hahn. I kind of like that name. It sounds like it should be in a book. Shared a statement regarding the benefits of open source in the press release. Quote, open source offers great advantages in a domain where the EU can have a leading role. The new rules will increase transparency and help the Commission, as well as citizens, companies, and public services across Europe, benefit from open source software development. Pooling of efforts to improve the software and the co-creation of new features lowers costs for the society, as we also benefit from the improvements made by other developers. This can also enhance security as external and independent specialists check software for bugs and security flaws. End quote. When I hear something that says lowers costs for the society, all I hear is socialism, like in communist Russia, these features benefit cost for society. Just sounds very communist, but
yeah.
But no, I think this is a good thing. Looks good, and I do believe that we read stories many years ago about Germany open sourcing all of their government infrastructure as well. So
yeah, and the U.S. government does too. You can go to
yes, to a certain extent, yes.
Yeah, they got the whole code.gov site. I was just looking on there, and the last bit of open source news and events on there was from 2020. So, yay, new president. Way to run this department. Let's get technology back in there, I guess. Yeah.
All right, very good. And of course, that came from It's Foss. So, and a link to the entire story will, of course, be in the show notes. So, very cool. All right, that means we come down to Linux in the Ham Shack, and we're going to talk about a project we almost never get through an episode without talking about somehow.
Uh-oh.
But this is the latest release of WSJT-X. Otherwise known as WSJT-X. So, all right, Bill, tell us what's new in WSJT-X. I don't even know if I'm using 253. I suspect I'm not.
I haven't ran an update on mine, so I don't know. I probably will be later, but we'll see. So this is WSJT-X 2.5.3 GA. General availability release is out on the website. Win64 builds only. So Joe Taylor sent out a note to the development channel and said, "Dear WSJT-X users, as most of you know, we are mourning the recent death of our friend and colleague Bill Somerville, G4WJS, who since 2013 has contributed so much to the WSJT project. One of Bill's many WSJT-related tasks was creating installation packages for Win32, Win64, Linux, and that includes Debian, Fedora, Raspberry Pi, etc., and Mac OS for each new program release. At present, we have a straightforward system for building the Win64 package, the best choice for the majority of WSJT-X users, but no systems in place for building Win32, Linux, or Mac OS packages. WSJT-X 2.5.3 includes a feature of special interest to users who will enter the ARRL January VHF contest coming up in January. For a benefit of those users, we have decided to release the WSJT-X version 2.5.3 for Win64, even though we have not yet made pre-built packages for other operating systems. Sorry, just a terrible cough. The new feature for the ARRL VHF contest is an enhanced macro facility or TX messages aimed at making it easier to ask another station to QSY to a new band. The feature is described briefly in the user guide. Additional information will likely appear in the VHF contest-related forums, so check that out if you're interested in that. Pre-built packages for Win32, Linux, Mac OS will be added when we have created new means for creating them. 73 from Joe, Steve, and Nico. So yeah, sad news about Bill Somerville. And I've already seen a bunch of people reaching out to help fill that gap for building those installation packages, those debs that you've probably been, picking off the website, and so has everybody else in the lazier Linux community, right? Just go get the deb and install the deb off the website.
Oh, that's perfect. Why is there not a lazy Linux distro? There needs to be.
Yeah, it's called Arch.
No,
let some other user figure out how to make it. Oh, you let some other user figure out how to put it all together. They put it in an AUR package for you, and then you just click install. But anyways, yeah, sad news. But new version out there for WSJT-X, and maybe I don't know what type of setup that they use for maintaining the code. I mean, there's so many options out there with like GitHub Actions and stuff like that. You could spawn off jobs to build packages inside of containers and throw them away after the build's done. So there's so many easy ways to get all that stuff automated nowadays with code commits and testing and stuff like that. There's probably no reason why they couldn't consider this an opportunity to look at sort of automating a lot of that stuff on commit. I'm not sure. Just not sure how they manage their code, if they're still on Subversion or something like that, where they're in a platform that doesn't allow them to do continuous integration and continuous deployments.
Right. Well, it's unfortunate about what was it, G4WJS? Yeah, Bill. But at least lucky for us, the source code is still available. So for those of us who can and do install from source, you can still get the latest version of this. You may just have to wait a little bit for any package versions that aren't Windows. But I imagine they'll have this straightened out in short order. Yeah. Like I say, there's been a lot of traffic on the channel for that particular gap to be filled. So hopefully that won't last very long. Yep. All right. Very good. So new WSJT-X with probably some new niftiness, and otherwise looks exactly the same as it ever did. So the one thing you can count on is the stability of the WSJT-X interface. All right. Well, sadly, we're getting down to the end of the year, and we're also getting down to the end of when people actually apparently do stuff that isn't somehow family and holiday related. So our topics are a little bit light, but that's okay. We'll just carry on. It means that you all will have a little more time to spend with your friends and family as well after listening to a kind of shortened episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. But we do have one more thing we need to do before we get out of here, and that's bring Cheryl back on. We can drag her away from her salesmanship and tell us about the social media roundup and who's joined us over the past, well, what is it now, 2.5 weeks? And we have actually had quite a flurry of activity on the social media networks. So get ready to read this nice long list.
I saw the list. It's quite long. So I'll do my best to not butcher too many names. So to start the list out for our Patreons, we have Reginald Addo, William Large, Stephen S.,
Off to a great start.
Great start, yeah. Andy Cowley, Gary Tibbetts, Bryce Johnston, David Scarf, David Slaughter, Jim Lawson, Patrick Ang, Douglas Schock, Eric Guth, Brandon Rozak, John Spriggs, Robert Lewis, Robert Pitts, Douglas Redder, David Jakeway, Darren King, Cubicle Nate, Erna Costala, Samuel Vimes, Peter Caffrey, Richard Gordon, Paul Griffith, Jonas Rulo, Donald Gover, Herb Garcia, Steve Sainer, Steve Metcalf, William Heckelman, Randolph Smith, and Andy Webster. For our subscriptions, we have Vincent Martin, which is new. Welcome aboard. We have Bob Alberg, Paul Mooney, Chris DeLuca, Eric Muller, Carl Backus, Isaac Gear, Thomas Foy, Michael Burdack, Kevin Ivey, Tony Coberly, Ronald Ike, Johnny Kenzie, Peter Spots, Fred Cole, Bill Piotr, Jeffrey Boris, Robert Halliday, Wayne Hale, John Clark, Steve Hepler, Michael Jopling, Howard Dittmer, Todd Bowers, Michael Carey, A. Taylor, Dylan Engel, Jim McKenzie, Bill Collins, Robert Black, Darren King, Randolph Smith, Robert Yerke, Steve Biella, Alan Wilson, Mark Farrell, and Jeff Zimmerman. Okay. For Facebook, we have Victor Ford, Sandy McTaggart, Matt Canatiempo, Ken Campbell, Rick Debe, H.T. Perry, and David A. Johnston. For Twitter, we have at W0DHC, at Patio 3900, at Dirk JH, at Stephen Browning 2, at Marvelous Fayala, at M0TZX_radio, and at Thundar. On YouTube, we have Chris Bradshaw, Jibril Eza, Bill Krause, Lawrence Silverstein, J.I. Ivan, Dan, N9BAV, Rob Shute, F4FEE Jocelyn, and DS4GZB. On Discord, we have Inishir, K6DRL_Daryl, MM0CJT, and ZS6KX_Koos. No one joined us on the mailing list, and no merchandise sales.
All right, so I'm going to start a pool, and we can all guess a date, and we'll pick a prize for whoever gets closest to the episode that the subscription list goes Vincent Martin, Bob Alberg, yada, 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 Jeff Zimmerman. So...
What?
When Cheryl decides to throw in the towel and stop reading, just go.
Yeah.
just go.
Trust me, it's getting closer.
That's kind of where I thought.
Yeah.
It's like reading a whole story, just going through all that. It's like 2 or 3 stories now.
Yeah,
Jesus,
exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Luckily, we only do this one episode out of 3, right?
Yeah.
Right. And we always do it at the very end, so you can skip this part, until
Yeah.
But if you want to hear your name, which apparently Steve did in the chat room, because he said you read his name perfectly. So I'm not sure which Steve. Steve Annis, I think, was that Steve? Maybe. I don't know. I think he's one of the newer Steve. We have a few Steves. So.
Need to light a cigar here. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Come on, hack it up.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Darren says you could just pre-record it and play it back at 2 times speed.
And then the people who are listening at 2 times speed will hear it at 4 times speed. So yeah, that might work.
That'd really be trippy. Michael Gary, Darren Terry, Jim McKenzie, Bill Collins, Black King, Smith, Yerk. Bye.
Yeah, well, Steve said he listens to the show normally at 1.5 times, which is what I usually listen to podcasts at. And this is the first podcast that he's able to listen to live. So my inclination was to start reading things really slowly. So
Nice.
Yeah, I do that too. I listen to it fast, but like I listen to a few live ones. And I don't notice it so much when they're live, but if I play them at 1 speed, they sound terribly slow. I don't know what the difference is, whether if it's just live, I'm just engaged because it's live, or yeah, it's just psychological at that point. It's like, oh, this is so slow. Why is that? Especially when you hear their intro music running really slow. You're like, what's going? Oh, I didn't have it at. I don't really listen at 1.2 now. I actually slowed my listening down because 1.5 was making me a psycho.
So back in the early to mid 90s, I had a job that required me to listen to media at double speed and sometimes even triple speed.
Ugh.
And so I had to do that 8 hours a day, every day. And so I would get home and like normal speech would be slow. Like, just, come on, say what you got to say. Speed up. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that was always fun. But all right. So anyway, that brings us down to the end of the show. And I think we had as much social media roundup as normal content, but that's okay. We did have some folks join us live tonight in the chat room who are with us and, being our peanut gallery and talking to us and giving us insights as we bring the show to you. We want to recognize them. We had Don KC9ZMY, Steve KJ5T, Darren VK60K, and Ted WA0EIR. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who listen to the show and who join us on social media platforms and who subscribe to us and donate financially. We really appreciate all of that. And we really hope that we can get to see some of you all in May 2022, because so far it looks like Hamvention will be a thing, but we know come March something might change. But in the meantime, hang in there. Hope you have a great holiday season. We do have one more episode coming up before we sign off for the year and come back on the 6th of January. But that is going to be our year-end roundup. So if you have headphones and a microphone and want to join us, please do that. We'll give you all the deets here in the next couple of days. And with that, let's go ahead and get on out of here. This has been episode number 444 of Linux in the Ham Shack. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD73.